Hello and welcome to another weekly reading vlog. So it is a Sunday today. It is much later in the day than I usually come and introduce these. So it is nearly 4 o'clock. So it's the afternoon, but my mum popped over earlier. So it's been quite busy and I haven't actually done any reading today. So my plan is to chill for the rest of the day and read some books. So I thought I would tell you about the two books that we are starting the week with. So the first one is a Kindle book, and that is Summerween by Joss Wood. This is an arc that I got from NetGalley and it is due to be released at some point in July. I think it's mid-July. I will double check the date and I will let you know. I've only read, I think, 3 chapters of this, maybe 4. I'm just going to check. Oh, apparently I'm partway through a chapter. That is very unusual for me. I'm partway through chapter 3. I'm 12% of the way through, and the chapters, I will say, are quite long with this. I think that's why I'm partway through a chapter. But the premise of this is that the main character, she is coming back to her hometown for the summer, which everybody names it Halloween Town and they nickname it H Town. And she is a professional dancer or choreographer, and she's just coming back home to relax for the summer. She just wants to have a chill time. But she ends up getting roped into helping with the choreography for the Summerween sort of event that they have, or fair or something like that, that they're going to put on. And one of the people participating in this is a guy who has also come to the town for the summer, who was a surgeon and is taking some time off to relax. And it does say on the cover that it's a small town spicy romance, so I imagine that the two of them are going to end up together. But not much has happened so far. It's mostly just introduced the two characters and it's sort of just a bit of backstory about the town. So I'm looking forward to getting into this some more, and it does feel the perfect read because it's summer, but I wish it was Halloween. So yes, I will be reading some more of this. And then the physical book that I've got is one from my June TBR, so I really do need to get a crack on, because I think I've got this and 2 more books on my June TBR, and the month is very fast coming to an end. So this is Day One by Abigail Dean. I haven't started it yet. I have picked my bookmark, which is a quote and a reference from My Favourite Murder. So there's that, anyone who enjoys that podcast. And this, from what I can gather, is there is some, I believe it's a school shooting, and there's lots of different perspectives, so that there's like the person who survived, like the media, somebody who has heard about it from the outside, and there's lots of different perspectives, and they're trying to understand what happened because everybody's got their own version of the truth. And it does seem like that there's been some kind of lie, because there's a little tagline that says she told them everything except the truth. So I do know that this is a thriller. I got this in a sort of blind date with a book from my friend for my birthday last year. So I've had this for almost a year now. So I thought it was probably time that I read this before my birthday next month. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into this, and I haven't read a thriller in a while, so I'm intrigued to get on with that. And those are the 2 books that I will be reading this week. Nothing particularly exciting planned at all this week. I do have tomorrow off, so hopefully that means more reading time, but considering it is nearly 4 o'clock and I haven't read anything at all today, I'm not sure how likely that is. But the reason that I haven't been doing a lot of reading is because I've decided that I'm back on my cross-stitching hype. So I thought I'd just really quickly, for anyone who is interested, show you my latest cross-stitch project. This I'm hoping to get finished really soon. I've just got one little bit left to do, and then I'm going to look for some frames, because there's a few cross stitch projects I have that I want to frame. Yes, anyway, this is the cross stitch project, and this is my first time working on the black fabric, so that has been a bit of a challenge, but yeah, I just thought it was really cool and a little bit spooky, and it was a free pattern. So this was a free pattern that you can get on Instagram. I will link, for anyone who is interested, I will link the Instagram below. She does free patterns every Friday, and she also has a shop that you can buy patterns from. So if anyone is also a cross stitcher and is interested, as I said, I will link it below for you. And yeah, I think once I'm done, I want to get like an oval frame for it, like a wooden one, like a dark wood, and hopefully I can start putting things up on the wall behind me, that so it's not just a blank wall and then just this really awkward old picture that I've had forever that I think I got really cheap from somewhere. But yes, that is my plan for today. So Rosie's scared of the tripod. She was just sat next to me on the sofa, but she heard the tripod be pulled out and she ran off. I think it's because it makes quite a loud noise when I pack it back up, because it snaps the legs together. So she's scared of it. But I am chilling here. It's quite a lot later in the day. We've had food and I have been reading one day. I'm 67 pages in, and I will say this is quite tense. So just as a bit of a trigger warning, so yeah, this is about a school shooting, but not only a school shooting with young children. So it's a primary school, and I didn't realise that, so that was just intense. And it follows, I think we've got 4 perspectives in here so far, and it flicks from the day of the shooting, and then also, I'm not sure how many years, but there's like a few like years I think, and then also like sort of like weeks, so it's all just a little bit all over the place at the moment, so I'm still getting to grips with it. But we've got a few perspectives. So we have the perspective of a teacher at the school, we have the perspective of her daughter, there is a dad of one of the kids, and then we also have somebody who used to live in the town but then has moved away, and he's sort of like an amateur journalist. Those are the perspectives we have so far, and each chapter heading. So the event happens on day 1, and then all of the chapters are, they're not numbered or anything, so they'll say like day 3, week 2, so it's like, and then it will also then sometimes go back to day 1 and give a little bit more context. So at the moment I'm just sort of getting introduced to each of the characters and the different perspectives, and seeing how everybody is coping with what has happened, kind of the aftermath. But yeah, it's an interesting read. I'm just at the moment struggling with all the different names, because not only are there 4 perspectives, but then each perspective does have other characters in it that you then have to remember their names. So at the moment I'm a little bit sort of confused and unsure about everybody and how they all connect together. So there's obviously like parents and their children, and then all these people in this small town. So that is just something I'm getting to grips with right now. This also is set in the UK, which I didn't realise, because we don't really tend to get school shootings typically, because you know, guns are not readily available in the UK, so that's not something that we experience regularly like people do in America. So it's interesting that the setting of this is the Lake District that it's set, and so yeah, that's just been interesting, and I wonder if more of that will come into it. But yeah, I don't really have many opinions on it at the moment. It's difficult to say that I'm enjoying it because it's such a horrible concept, and as I said, there's a lot of perspectives to get on board with, but I will definitely continue it. And I think it's only 346 pages, so not terribly long, so I will continue on. Last night when I got into bed, read some more of Summerween by Joss Wood. I'm now 25% of the way through this. I think I only read another chapter maybe. I think I finished off the chapter I was partway through and then read one chapter, but the chapters in this are relatively long, so they're like half an hour each chapter, and we all know my feelings on longer chapters, so there is that. But I am finding it's okay. It's not gripping me. It's very much slow to start with. The main character, Ren, her godmother has roped her into helping with the dance. We're going to do some kind of dance for this fair, and she said that she didn't want to do it, but her godmother just is like, well, I've printed these flyers, I've told everybody you're going to do it. I just guilt tripped her into doing it, and yeah. Then Dane, the male main character, has come along, and he is there because one of the boys wants to dance, but his dad won't let him and is saying that it's really girly. So Dane has said, well, I'm not girly. If I come to this, will you let your son do it? And he's like, and the dad's like, yeah, if you're there, I'll let him go. But then Dane's also guilt tripping her because, like, she said she'll do one lesson and then someone else will take over. And he's like, oh well, I am only going to come to this dance class if you're teaching it, and then if I'm not here, that also means this kid can't come. And I'm like, you've met her one time and you're being like that. I don't know how, I'm not sure I'm a big fan of him. So I will see if he actually improves. But yeah, at the moment, it does seem very surface level. They both just find each other attractive, keep commenting on how attractive a person is, but they've not actually really spoken. So, like, as I said, they met once, they had a chat, and now there's this. So I'm not hot on it at the moment, but we shall see how it goes and I read some more. So we are heading out to the shop to do some shopping, and then I'm hoping for the rest of the day I can chill and read my books. That is my plan, because it's also meant to be a heat wave again, and I'm really not looking forward to that. So I'm hoping that I should keep cool and read. Day one. I am now about halfway through. I think I'm on page 178, and I'm getting really into this because it seems like there's lots of different perspectives, and it seems like the daughter of the teacher who died is lying about being there. There's been lots of hints, and that she potentially knows the shooter. There's also perspective of the journalist. He's turned out to be like a little bit of a conspiracy theory guy. He's been meeting up with some people who don't think that the shooting actually happened at all. They think that it's just a bunch of actors and they're just pretending that this tragedy happened. Now, I know that for some bizarre reason, when these kind of things happen, I have heard of scenarios where people think that it's not real and it never happened. But it's really interesting to see and to read about that, and it's just really intriguing. I feel like there's going to potentially be some kind of twist or reveal. I'm intrigued by that, and the only thing for me, I would say, is there's quite a few different perspectives. So we've had a few more perspectives come in. So there's a boy who was in the shooting but survived, and he is saying that the teacher wasn't as much of a hero as everyone is making her out to be. And I think there's another perspective that I can't think of exactly what they are right now, but it does keep flicking timeline wise, so that's something to do. It's like, but again, it'll be sort of like 3 months on, 5 years on, 2 weeks before, those kind of things, and then back to it. And each time we go back, we get a little bit more information. But I am really intrigued by it. I am curious to see how it's all going to unfold, because I do believe that it's not all it is talking up to be. And the chapters are relatively short, so I'm managing to read it quite quickly as well. And I'm not exactly enjoying it because of the premise, but it is really interesting read. There was a perspective from one of the children, so again, if this is something that would be triggering to you, please check that, because as I have said, it is about a shooting in a primary school. These kids are about 10 years old, if not younger, so it is a heavy topic, so that is just something to keep in mind. But I'm interested to see what exactly is going on, because it's not all it cracks up to be, and Marty, who is the daughter of teacher, does seem a little bit suspicious. I definitely think there's something going on there, and I want to know what it is. So I am planning to just read this for the rest of the day, and that's pretty much it. So we went out shopping earlier to get a big food shop, and I have just been sat here, other than I went for a shower, just been sat here reading my book, because it's really, and even though I do have a coffee, I have a vanilla latte. But that is pretty much it. I will probably read on my Kindle a little bit later because I do really need to start. It's just not super gripping me at the moment. Just not reaching for it. I think it's the chapters along. I just love a short chapter, but I am just going to carry on with this for now and see how much I can get read for the rest of the day. I have just finished One Day by Abigail Dean and I gave this 4 stars. Thought it was a really interesting book. Now this was marketed as a thriller and I feel like especially the cover even makes it look like it's a thriller. Obviously I got it in a blind date with the book, that was the genre, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was a thriller. It dealt with sort of like conspiracy theories and what really more about how the media, how society, how people view tragic things that happen and how there can be a little bit of a frenzy around it, how the media spins things and a lot of people obviously not believing that this tragedy happened. And I thought that that was a really interesting concept. But I wouldn't say necessarily that it was a thriller, although it was the topic was very dark, of course. It was about a school shooting and it was young children and it's about this small town trying to cope with that while there is such a media frenzy about it and all these people who don't believe it happened and that these people are actors. So I thought that was really interesting. I will say that there were a lot of different characters in it and it did keep flicking timelines, but it wasn't always clear and it was a bit confusing because it would be, you know, like 3 days after, a month after, or 4 years later, those kind of things. So it flicked not only perspectives but then also timelines, so that did confuse me a little bit. Sometimes I had to double check who I was reading from, but overall I did really enjoy it. It is not a book that I would have necessarily picked up, but I am glad that I read it and I would be interested. I know that Abigail Dean has also written another book, Girl A, which I believe has also been made into a TV show, and I would be interested in reading that book. I'm not sure exactly what the premise of that is, but I'd be interested to read more from Abigail Dean. And yeah, it's just good to have read this one. And yeah, as I said, four stars. I did really enjoy it. I think it was really interesting. I thought there might have been a twist, but I think I have read too many, and I haven't even read that many of them, but I think with sort of like thrillers, I've read a couple of Frida McFadden's recently, which I'm personally not a fan of, but I've read a few of her books and I feel like there's always some kind of twist. So in my mind I keep getting this thought that there needs to be a twist, but there doesn't. And you know, there was some hints that Marty wasn't telling the whole truth, so I was thinking that there would be more to it than that, but it was still really interesting read. And yeah, all done. I haven't read any more of it, but I will now be focusing on Summerween. So it is 10:15 and I stayed down here because I really wanted to finish this today, and then I knew I wanted to talk about it before I went to sleep and forgot what I wanted to say. So yes, I will be heading upstairs now and I will be reading more of Summerween, and then tomorrow I will be picking another physical book, but I've only got 2 books on my June TBR that I need to read, so it will be one of those 2 anyway. Yeah, I'm back at work tomorrow, so probably won't be as much reading as there was today. When I got into bed last night, I made some more progress on Summerween by Joss Wood. I am now 32% of the way through, and I will say I'm not really enjoying it. There's quite a few things. So firstly, the chapters are really long, so they're like at least 30 minutes per chapter. Now, even though it is my preference for short chapters, it's not be all and end all of me disliking a book with the chapters being long. But not only the chapters long, the perspectives change partway through a chapter without really any notice. So there's just a chapter break and then it will be a new perspective and you have to kind of figure out who is. That's quite confusing. And then there's just so many characters, so it's also introduced perspectives of ghosts. So this town is supposed to be really spooky, of course, it's called nicknamed Halloween Town. They have people who believe in these ghosts and people who don't, and they really lean into the whole Halloween spooky vibe. And obviously it's now implying that the ghosts are real. That it's fine, but it then has their perspective. But not only does it have the perspective of the ghost, but it's like a group of ghosts all together discussing things. And so there's just so many names, and it's trying to remember who all these people are because they've only very briefly been mentioned previously. It'll be, oh, I can't even think of any names, but like, oh, so and so, they supposedly haunt the coffee shop and turn the coffee machine on or off or whatever it is. And then there's a perspective, and it'll not only be that ghost, but it'll be like multiple ghosts, and that's just confusing because it's a small town. You know, there's just a lot of characters in general that we need to remember all the names of, and then they're related to each other, or they're in some way connected. And then also, I'm not vibing with the supposed romance. I don't feel like the two characters, Ren and Dane, have any chemistry at all. They have met maybe 2 or 3 times, and then they end up going for a drink, and her like childhood friends come, and she's just like, oh, and it's fine. Oh, I wish that I'd got to chat with Dane a bit more. But it's like they also almost kissed that same day, like earlier in the day, but there's no actual connection between them other than they both find each other really attractive. I'm not feeling that that there's anything actually there other than this superficial attraction, and it's just making, like, all of these things combined are just making it really difficult for me to pick it up. Now, it is an arc. It is due to be released on the 12th of July. Because it is an arc, I will try and continue it. I won't DNF it just yet, but I'm going to see how it goes because, as I said, I'm just really struggling with it. I was hoping this was going to be, I did expect it would be a little bit cheesy. I expected it to be a little bit funny, just like, hey, there's this town that is always Halloween, and then there's this romance. But I don't feel I'm getting either of that really, other than they're telling me, oh yes, there are some people that believe in ghosts and some people don't, and there's some skeletons around. I'm not getting the vibes of it, and trying to remember all the characters' names, it's just quite, but I will continue it for now and see if it doesn't pick up in the next few chapters, then I will reconvene what I'm going to do about it. Yeah, I'm quite disappointed because I was really, really looking forward to it, and the cover's really cute. I thought I'd love it. I've actually not read much at all today. I'm just going to put you down because there's, and then she leaves. I've not read much today at all because it's been so bloody hot. And also I had to edit a video when I finished work, so I did that, and now I am chilling out. I have read another chapter of Summerween, and yeah, it's still not great. I think I am going to finish it. I think I'm just going to push through, get it done, review it, move on. I just think there's no chemistry between these two characters. They've just kissed. It's 38% of the way through. They've just kissed for the first time, but they don't even know each other. They've met a handful of times. They've barely spoken. And there was at one point when Dane was like watching her dance, and he was just commenting on her body, how attractive she is, all this and the other, and that's it. There's nothing else. That he doesn't have anything else to say about her other than he finds her attractive. And there was something that he said, I can't remember exactly, but I think he said something, and he was like, oh, and her, I think it was like her scent or something because she's dancing. I'm sure he said something like, oh, it always reminds me of this. And I'm like, what do you mean always? This is like the 3rd time that you've actually spoken to her. I really don't understand what on earth is going on with that. I'm not finding that there's any chemistry. I don't quite understand why they think that they're so attracted to each other. It's meant to be that she doesn't want to have a relationship with anybody at the moment because she's just turned down a proposal. Why 38% of the way through are they kissing? Her godmother is the town mayor, and I think it's meant to come across as like quirky and cute that she keeps basically harassing Dane about becoming the town doctor because the doctor needs to retire and he's a surgeon. And like multiple times it's been said, oh yes, she's cornered him again about asking him, and they're all saying, oh, you just need to keep saying no, but she always gets what she wants. And I feel like they're trying to get it to come across quirky and cute, but it's just coming across as really, really rude. And like, if he doesn't want to be a town doctor, he does not have to do that. Like, leave him alone. So I do feel like I'm kind of hate reading this at the moment, which I don't like to do, but I think because it's an arc, I am going to just try and get through it and see. It's just also the long chapters aren't helping that. I have picked the next physical book that I will be reading. I've only got 2 books left on my June TBR anyway, 2 physical books, so it was between 2, and the other one that is left, I want to do a video on that, like solely on that book, so I'm not quite ready to do that yet. So I have picked up Sealed with a Loving Kiss by Ellie Dean. Now, we all know the drill, but I'm going to say it anyway. These books are set in World War II. They are centred around the town of Cliffhaven, and more specifically Beechview Boarding House, which is owned by Peggy Riley and her family. Each book typically follows somebody who has, for a specific reason, having to move into Beechview, and so gets to know this huge cast of characters in the house, and Peggy and her family and all of that jazz. Now, this one is different to the others. This is following the same person from the previous book. So this is following Mary, who in the first book, her parents tragically die in a bomb raid. She then finds out that she was adopted, and that the person, like her real parents, live in Cliffhaven. So she goes to Cliffhaven to try and find out what has happened. And this book is continuing on from that. Usually the books follow one person and then that person moves on and becomes a secondary character, but this is the first time it is following the same person as the main character twice, so I'm intrigued by that. It is shorter, a little bit shorter than previous books, so this one is only 391 pages. They've been getting closer to 500, but also for the first time, and now I'm wondering if the other books had this and I just didn't notice, but I donate them, I put them in the book box once I'm done, but this one has a little map of Cliffhaven, and I've never, I'm not convinced that the other ones have had this, but there's a little map of Cliffhaven and all of the different places, so that's really cute, and I will be looking at that. And then also there's a list of characters, and it gives you a little bit of a paragraph about them, and it's really good because it's obviously got Peggy, who is the person who owns the house, her husband Jim, and then it's like all the different people in there, and then it's like Peggy's children, and it goes into that. And I'm sure that this wasn't in any of the other books, but I've never seen it, so I just think that's really nice, so that's quite good. And it is the 9th book in the series. And then I haven't started it yet, but I do have my little bookmark. It's one of those ones that goes on the corner of the book, and I picked it because it's sort of yellowy mustard, so it kind of goes, and also it has my name on it. I got this as a Christmas present from a friend, and it's really cute. So yes, I will be reading this as well as chugging through this, but I'm going to try and make this the priority because I need to get it done and out of my life, which is so annoying because I was so looking forward to this and the cover looked really good, but alas, it is not for me. I have made more progress on Summerween, so I am now 53% of the way through. It's still telling me I've got about 3 hours left to read of this, so that's going to be loads of fun. So now somebody from her past has come into it, so I think there's potentially going to be a hint of a love triangle-esque or something along those lines, because it's somebody who she was attracted to before, but they chose somebody else, and now they're back saying, oh no, I made a mistake, I actually want to pick you. And obviously she has had all these feelings for Dane, so I think there's going to be a little bit of she's unsure which one to pick. There's going to be maybe some hesitation. She might potentially pick this guy, I can't remember what his name is, but she may pick him temporarily and then realise that that's a mistake. I don't really know, but we shall see what happens. I'm just hoping that it picks up in the second half and is more interesting, because I am finding that it is a bit of a slog. I am determined to get through it. There's that. And then I did make a start, just so that I've done it, on Sealed with a Loving Kiss. I've only read the first chapter, and this follows on pretty much directly from the last book, so it picks up straight away. It has again briefly introduced everybody in the house, but it's just continuing on. So Mary was briefly staying overnight at Beachview with Peggy, and that's pretty much all that's happened so far. But the first chapter was like 25 pages. But again, I think I've mentioned this before, the margins are quite big on these, so the page, like, it's not actually that much. Yes, I will definitely be continuing this, but I'm trying to power through this one so that I can just get it done and then move on to something else on the Kindle. And that is it. Honestly, the concentration is incredibly low at the moment because it is absolutely boiling hot and I just can't cope with it. It's a real struggle. So the reading is definitely slowed down quite a lot, but I will see how I get on over the next few days. Trying to enjoy my lunch break and reading this book, but it's not going well. So she has just got to his, and so they've been out for the day and it's been cold because they've been in some water, and they've just he's like, oh, my house is closed, you can go to mine, blah blah blah. And they got back to his, and I'm gonna read it. So he said, her mouth was a little too wide, her nose a little long, her eyebrows a tad off centre, but she was stunning. Just don't mention it. I get that they're trying to say, you know, she isn't perfect, she has her flaws, but he still finds her attractive. But I'm like, firstly, the only thing that you know and care about her is the fact that she is attractive. And then now's not the time when there's a potential that they're going to sleep together. I don't think you need in your mind to be thinking, she's got a long nose and her mouth is too big. It's taken me out a little bit. But I am at 60% of the way through Summerween, and I will be glad when it's done. I'm getting there. Yeah, I think it's just not for me. It is just not for me. And I am a bit annoyed because I was really hoping that I was going to love this. Everything about it sounded really fun. It's Summerween, it's Halloween in the summer, cute romance. It's nice. And there's like big ghosts in it. They are also characters and they're just trying to meddle as well, and there keeps being hints like, oh, I feel some breeze behind me. And yeah, I don't mind when there's like supernatural stuff in a book and things like that, but I'm not sure it really fit in what is essentially just a romance book, so it is just a little bit odd. But yeah, so mad about it, I just threw my Kindle on the floor. So I am 60% of the way through. I'm on chapter 12 and there is only 17 chapters, so I'm too far off being done. It says I've got 2 hours 50 minutes till I finish, but I'm hoping that I can power through and get it finished quicker and just be done with it. But yeah, this is all the update that I have at the moment because I'm not reading all that much, honestly. Bit of a slog, and the weather is still completely roasting, so I'm just trying to keep cool. I have just been sat at the table like a prawn, crouched down the laptop, editing the vlog, because I always do this. I always say, oh, I'll edit as I go and should edit each day as I kind of get to it, and then I don't, and then it hit Wednesday and I realised that I really should probably make a start on the editing. So I've done about half of it, but I can't sit there anymore, my back is hurting. So I have moved to my trusty spot and I thought I would give you an update. I am 71% of the way through Summerween and I have made the decision that I will be finishing this tonight. I don't care. I think I've got about 2 hours left. Yeah, 2 hours left. It is now 9:15. I'm going to read this tonight. I'm not putting it down until it's done because I do not want to spend another day reading it. I'm still not bothered. I feel like the characters have no chemistry whatsoever. All they have is the physical attraction, and what's really annoying me is the whole premise is that they're both just there for the summer, and so of course inevitably there's a little bit of conflict in the fact that they will potentially both be parting ways at the end of summer and moving on and going separate ways. And at one point Dane is, or is it, anyway, there's one part of the book where essentially they say they don't have anything in common other than the fact that they're both attracted to each other and have amazing sex, which not really been described, wasn't really amazing, but there's that. So they're saying they don't have anything in common, so what's the point? So the angle has probably changed slightly because we took in a parcel for our next door neighbours and they just came to collect it, and I can see if anyone walks to the front of our house because it's right there, and so I quickly stopped recording. So yes, back to this. They're even saying that they don't have anything in common, so I don't really understand. And then also there was another point where they're saying, oh, all we've got is this amazing sex and amazing chemistry, which again I'm not feeling. But then I think this was the perspective from Dane, and he was saying, but it's not just the physical attraction, it's not just this chemistry, because we also all this, and it starts listing like the movie nights and the dates and the meals and all this stuff that they supposedly done, but we don't see any of that. We have seen them go for a drink and get interrupted by her friends. We see them go for like a movie thing, but there was also some water, some floaties. Didn't really get what on earth is happening there. And then they go for a drink, and that's when the other person, who is the second potential love interest, is there and kind of ruins it. So each time we've seen something is conflict. We haven't actually seen the two of them interact as a couple, other than for them to go on and on about how attracted they are to each other. And I'm finding that as well, the descriptions are making me feel a little bit icky. It's constantly just about how attractive she is, how her body is, how perky she is, this, that and the other. And with him it's how muscled he is, how toned he is, and all this. And I'm just thinking, you don't have anything else to discuss. You don't actually know anything about each other. You know she is a choreographer and he is a surgeon, but what else? What else is there? It's so superficial, and I feel like it's just getting on my nerves now. I feel like I hate reading this, which I don't do. I am really surprised that I am not liking this, because I was thinking this was going to be, yeah, probably cheesy. It was going to be, just a fun summer romp with some spooky elements of it. We're pulling in that Halloween vibe. I'm not getting that at all. I'm getting a really pushy mayor who is getting on my nerves. But if people don't want to do something, they don't have to do it. Leave them alone. And then a couple that have nothing going for them. And she's a bad friend as well. Her friend is supposed to be getting married and clearly is having a second thought, isn't really interested. She even mentions about how her friend is not talking to her about her fiance at all, or the wedding planning, and doesn't seem to be that enthusiastic about it. And at no point does she say, hey, shall we talk about this? Hey, what should we do? Clearly there's something going on here. And so, yeah, I could probably rant about this for a while. I feel like unless the ending really pulls it out of the bag, the rating for this is not going to be very high. But yeah, I usually know the kind of books that I like to read, and I don't mind cheesy romances, and because it's based around Summerween, I thought I was going to love it. The cover is the best part. I feel like recently I've not been getting good books. I've not been picking good ones. I haven't had a true 5-star this year. I read a manga that was 5-star. I haven't read a novel, a book, and rated it 5 stars yet this year. That's insane for me. I don't know what's going on, but something's got to give. But yeah, I am going to stop ranting now, and I'm going to get this finished. I did it. I finished Summerween by Joss Wood last night, and I gave it 1 star. I don't think anybody is surprised by that, but it actually was shorter than I thought because there were quite a lot of promotional bits at the end. And I'm not sure how many chapters of the next book, but there's at least 1 chapter from the next book in this series, which I just skipped right on. So yes, I gave this 1 star. I've looked at the reviews for this and people do seem to really enjoy it, so maybe it is just a me problem, but I just didn't get on with it. And I'm genuinely surprised and a little upset by it because I thought I was going to love it. I was really looking forward to reading it, but the best thing about it was the cover. The ending was a little bit better, but still, I just didn't feel the chemistry at all between the 2 characters. They barely knew each other. So the last bit had the town fair, whatever you'd call it, the big thing at the end for Summerween. And there were some discussions of what the town looked like, how it was all laid out, and all saying, oh, you know, there's so many of these watermelon jack-o'-lanterns, there's all the skeletons dressed up, you know, all this kind of stuff that wasn't mentioned at all before, or it was very briefly, and I was like, this is what I want. I want the cozy, fun, a little bit cheesiness of it, and I just didn't get any of that. And there was obviously the potential other love interest that came into it, and then she was like, I need to think about it, carried on sleeping with Dane, who is the main male character, which again, okay, fine. But then it wasn't until like ages after she's like, yeah, I should probably tell this guy. And then that was again brushed over, that just like, oh yeah, I called him and it was fine. I didn't understand. I feel like the stakes didn't feel real. It was all just a little bit ridiculous. And then Dane was really rude to her at the end. There was obviously like a potential sort of, because they weren't even together, so I can't even say it was the 3rd act breakup, but they obviously were apart and then came back together, and that was the big thing. But he was just really horrible to her. But also she was being a little bit ridiculous. So they were both at fault. But yeah, I'm glad that I've done it. I've read it. It's done. But I haven't picked up another Kindle book yet. I haven't done any reading at all today, actually. But I don't know what to pick, because now I just feel like I've been reading loads of rubbish books. So I was planning to potentially do spin a wheel and get something random, but I actually think I might look through and see what's on my Kindle and try and maybe find something from an author I've read before that will hopefully help, because I really don't want to get into a reading slump because of all the books that I've been reading. So I will let you know once I've picked something else, but glad to have got that done. Please excuse how sweaty I look, and yeah, I literally just threw my hair up because it was on me and far too hot. It's getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and I just need the weather to chill. So I am sat here because firstly, Rosie is sat in my chair and it is one of the cooler places in the house, so I don't want to disturb her and get her to move because she's, I think, feeling a bit too hot, and yeah, she's precious. And also I have been sat here editing this vlog, so I'm pretty much up to date. I'm up to today, and that took longer than expected, so it is like 9:15. I haven't actually read much today at all, so I am still reading Sealed with a Loving Kiss by Ellie Dean. I am partway through a chapter, which is rare for me, but I was reading it while I was waiting for certain things to load, and I just haven't picked it back up yet to get to it. I'm on page 54, so not a whole bunch has actually happened so far. It is still mostly setting everything up. So there is a wedding happening soon, so Peggy is helping to organise that. So she is getting things ready for one of the girls who lives there. Her parents are coming to stay, and the only other thing that's happened is that Mary has been playing the piano and some of the other girls have been playing some instruments at the pub. But yeah, it's really just setting everything up, and I'm not really that far into it yet, so I will get into it some more. So I have decided I will be picking up another Kindle book, and I have decided to go with some short stories because then hopefully they will be good, and at least then it's they're not too long, and so I am going for I Know a Place by Nat Cassidy, and I have seen a few people read Nat Cassidy books before. I've never read anything by them before, and I can't remember who it was, but I definitely watched a video of someone talking about this and it really intrigued me, so I have picked it up and I will be giving them a go. It's got an introduction from Stephen King on, like it says that it's got an introduction from Stephen King, so that's really interesting as well. So I'm looking forward to getting into this. I don't know too much about it. As I said, I know it's a collection of short stories. I know they are horror stories, and honestly I think I've been wanting to read more spooky books, and I think this will be a really good one because I can just pick and read one or two if I really want to. And I'm hoping that this will be really good and mean that I won't feel slumpy after reading so many books recently that I have not particularly enjoyed. So I will have to take this off my spinner wheel because it's not going to be needed on there anymore. I just didn't want to risk doing a spinner wheel because I'm worried that if I do a spinner wheel I'm going to end up with another book that I'm not 100% on and I'm just going to fall into a slump. So I'm writing that off for this week, but it is all set up and ready so I can use that next time. I think my main focus is just going to be reading Sealed with a Loving Kiss. I just like to have a Kindle book at all times, and also I am one of those people that has a Kindle streak because I pretty much read at least a page or two on my Kindle at some point, waiting around to do things right before bed, that kind of thing. So I do have a very intense reading streak. So I always like to have something ready. So there's that, and that is pretty much it. I am just trying not to melt, and I am just going to really quickly show you Rosie on my chair because she looks so cute. Hi Rosie, you comfy? You cozy? Yes, so that is the reason that I'm sat here partially, but I think I'm just going to chill now for the rest of the evening, and it is Friday tomorrow. I can't believe we're already at the end of the week, but also this week has felt a million years long. I'm hoping that tomorrow is a little bit cooler than today because I do struggle to read and concentrate and do anything when the weather is so warm. That is everything. I think I will probably head up and have a shower to cool down and possibly get into bed very soon. I feel like this vlog is just going to be slowly me getting more and more dishevelled and sweaty and feeling melty. I've thrown my hair up because the fact that it was touching me was disgusting. No matter how many showers I have, I just feel like so gross. I'm also currently stood up next to my bookcase because Rosie is settled in my chair and I didn't really fancy sitting at the dining table because the chairs there are uncomfortable and I just can't be bothered. So I'm actually standing, which feels weird. Anyway, it's finally Friday and I can't wait. I have Monday off from work, so I have a long weekend and I'm buzzing for that. But I am coming to give you a quick update. So I did start, and I think I probably shouldn't have, but I did start I Know a Place by Nat Cassidy last night. I have now read 2 of the short stories out of this. So I read the first one, which is Pit Stop, which is the longer of the 2, and then I read Meet Cute. I gave Pit Stop 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. It's just the ending for me was a little bit weird. Maybe that was the point. Again, I've not read any Nat Cassidy before, so I didn't have anything to base it off, but I just thought it was a bit strange. I couldn't quite figure it out, but I did really enjoy it. It creeped me out. I was in bed reading it and I was like, I have regrets. So the basic premise is there's a guy and he is driving because his grandmother is sick, so he is going to see her. It's late at night and he ends up stopping off at a rest stop. I can't really go into any more than that without any spoilers, so there is that. The second one I didn't enjoy that much compared. The second one, Meet Cute, I gave 2 stars to. I thought it was just a little bit funny, a little bit like, and it is just about a woman who goes into a bar and meets a guy. but obviously more happens. I kind of understand, and I do, like, I get it, but yeah, as I said, for a short story, it was fine. It was just fine. And so yes, I have a few more to read, but I am really enjoying it. And I was telling my husband about it and saying, "Oh, this is the book," and he said to me, which is quite funny because I didn't even think about it at the time, but he said that I told him about the first short story in this, and he said that it really reminded him of Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk. I don't know how you say his name. Chuck. Have I got the No, I thought it was. I thought it was on the shelf, and I could quickly do it. But basically, the guy who wrote Fight Club, he wrote a book called Haunted, and it's just very creepy. And I saying, yes, this is what I'm looking for, something like that I haven't read in such a long time. I used to love reading these scary books, and I just haven't been doing it recently. So I'm really glad that I'm picking this stuff back up. So I'm looking forward to getting into this a little bit more and seeing what else Nat Cassidy has to offer. And then, as a huge swerve in genres, I am still reading Sealed with a Loving Kiss by Ellie Dean. I've not made much progress on this. I'm on page 74, so not a whole bunch has happened since I last updated. Honestly, I am struggling to read, and I'm finding obviously short stories are just a little bit easier because they're quicker, but also it's too sweaty to read a book, whereas at least a Kindle, it's not paper that I feel like I'm touching with my wet, sweaty hands. But I am, yes, going to continue with this. I've stopped partway through a chapter again. I'm just putting things down. I'm not sitting down and reading because it's too warm. But yes, I will be continuing on with that. That is pretty much it. It is lunchtime. It's quite a bit later in the day than I planned, just because work has been busy. That is it. I have made a little bit more progress on Sealed with a Loving Kiss by Ellie Dean. I am now on page 129 and chapter 6. So I'm finally not in the middle of a chapter, which just feels like that hasn't been happening at all. Also, it's still absolutely boiling. It's supposedly cooler today, but it doesn't feel like it. I've also got a cider. It's Thatcher's Juicy Apple Cider, and I haven't tried this before, but it's actually really nice, and I just love the can. That's kind of why I got it, but got that. I'm not sure it's helping me cool down. But yes, still, this one does feel a little, it's difficult to say slower because not tons happens in these books anyway, but this one is, because it's following the same character from the previous one, a lot of the drama started in that one and hasn't really picked back up in this one yet, but I do feel like it is coming. There's some things that have hinted and some things that happened in the previous book that I know are going to be revealed in this and potentially cause some trouble. But realistically, all that's happened so far in this is the wedding has now happened, the one that they were all organising for. So I'm thinking maybe now that that's happened, it will get more into the potential drama of Mary, her family, the whole reason that she's in Cliffhaven. But I'm still enjoying it. I think it's really nice just to have this sort of average everyday, this is just what's happening, people dealing with the war but still managing to do their normal daily lives. So I will be continuing on with this some more. I read another short story in the I Know a Place set of short stories. I'm just checking it was what it was called. It was called Generation. So yeah, I read another short story. I gave that one 3 stars. It was okay. It was a little bit creepy. I could see what was going on. It was kind of left on a little bit of a sort of, not like, what is the word I'm looking for? Like an ambiguous ending, really. So this one again is actually quite difficult to explain what each short story is about without actually spoiling the short story. So this is about a couple who are pregnant and they go to what is possibly an abortion clinic, but there's other things within that. And yeah, it was creepy. I could definitely feel the creep factor of it a little bit, feel a bit weird, but it wasn't necessarily like super scary, but it was still interesting. So I still got quite a few more to actually read. So I'm just going to keep flicking through and reading those when I feel like it. And yeah, I think it is almost 9:30 and I am kind of dying with the heat. I think it's probably time that we wrap up the vlog. So this week has had its ups and it's had its downs. So I read Day One by Abigail Dean and I rated this 4 stars. I actually really enjoyed this. This wasn't one that I would have usually have picked up, but I was pleasantly surprised when I got into it. It was really intriguing. I would not say necessarily that it was a thriller. It was more just about society and conspiracy theories and media frenzy, that kind of thing. But I guess because of the subject matter, potentially you could class that as a thriller. So yeah, 4 stars, that did really well. Then I read Summerween and I gave that 1 star, and we will not be talking about it any further. That's it. That's all we need to say about that. And then, yes, I've just got these 2 books that I am partway through. So not a whole bunch of reading was actually done this week, but considering the temperatures got so high that I wasn't even sure how I was going to function, I'm not too bothered about that. I think it is what it is. But yes, I will be picking up some more of my Kindle books, but my Kindle is in desperate need of a charge, so I'll be putting that on to charge, and so I'll probably be picking up Ellie Dean. So yeah, that is all for this week's reading vlog. So thank you so much for watching this week. Please do like this video if you have liked it, subscribe if you would like to see more, and if you have read any of these books or you have any opinions on any of the books that I've spoken about today, please leave a comment and let me know. If not, if just tell me what you've been reading this week. I'd love to know what you've got going on, and I will see you in the next one.